Good morning. Good to hear everybody talking and fellowshipping. I'm going to lead you in a song I led about a week or so ago. It's the names of the 12 apostles. I'm going to keep leading it till everybody knows it. I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand if you know them, because I know a lot of people here do, but I don't want to embarrass somebody if they don't. So anyway. Jesus called them one by one, Peter, Andrew, James, and John. Then came Philip, Thomas too, Matthew and Bartholomew, James the one they called the less, Simon also Thaddeus, the 12th apostle Judas made. Jesus was by him betrayed. Yes, Jesus called them, oh yes, Jesus called them. Yes, Jesus called them, and they all followed him. Jesus called them one by one, Peter, Andrew, James, and John. Then came Philip, Thomas too, Matthew and Bartholomew, James the one they called the less, Simon also Thaddeus, the 12th apostle Judas made. Jesus was by him betrayed. Yes, Jesus called them, oh yes, Jesus called them. Yes, Jesus called them, and they all followed him. I don't think he needs any introduction, so I'm just going to say, here he is, Dorian Flynn.
It is really a joy to be here with you all. My wife Sherry had planned to come, and we have a couple that we work with very closely. In fact, he's our deputy director, Africa side, and they applied for a visa to come to the States to visit. It's been 7 years since they were able to get, and it just came through. They went to the capital city in Zimbabwe, Harare, and at the U.S. Embassy, and they said in 2 days you'll get it. So they're here. He's got speaking engagements too, and so Sherry's had to help take them there, and that's why she's not here. But anyway, I'm glad to be here, and we're always blessed by this partnership that we have with you, and blessed when we come and visit with you. And so somebody asked me if I was going to stay because you had a potluck today, and I said that's one of the qualifications and requirements of a preacher. You know, so anyway, we're glad to be here. Let me see. I'm sure I'm getting there. Let me keep. Okay, it's not loaded, so my slides. If anybody can. Oh, okay, great. Oh, okay, well, I don't see it on here, so, okay, well, maybe they'll just turn it for me. I just want to show the first few slides is going to be some wildlife. We took this just a little while ago, and I say because we haven't been back from Africa too long. And so we were in this area, and with some friends of mine who are into wildlife and have safaris, lodges, and that. And so this elephant is about 15 years old. And if in years gone by, we would have called him a juvenile delinquent, because he kept on trying to get to our open air Jeep, you know. And he's trying to get close, and we try to stay away from him, you know. And then finally, our guide said, listen, we just got to get out of here, because what he really wanted to do is ram it, you know, and probably roll it. And so we just finally left him, and then he kind of stuck his trunk out at us as if to say chicken, you know, or whatever, you know. Next slide. So this was special. Because if you have followed wildlife and animals that are endangered, this is an endangered species, and it is a ridiculous notion, the reason that they are being killed, but they are, and they have to be protected. In Zimbabwe right now, rhinos are guarded 24/7, and they take no prisoners. And I am a friend with one of the rangers there. And he has they have AK-47s, and he has said that no poacher that they have caught has ever answered their questions, if you know what I mean. So to see a rhino up close was just magnificent. Next. Yes, so these baby cheetahs. Now, it's hard to see cheetahs in the wild. You know, me growing up in Africa, I haven't seen many. And these are baby cheetahs. The mother was close by, keeping an eye on us, you know, as well. But just to see them now, they're getting bigger now, and they'll be on their own soon. But anyway, next. To catch a picture of this guy is quite magnificent, and that's why I'm showing you these pictures, because leopards are nocturnal creatures, and so to see them in the wild in the daytime is unbelievable. They are extremely powerful for their size. When they kill a deer to eat, they will grab it by its neck and they'll climb the tree and then eat it up there. And so, you know, it's quite something, magnificent. And then, of course, my favorite animal in Africa next is this. He's not a buddy of mine, but I have watched him grow up through the years. I mean, I don't go up to him at all, but he is in an area where I have a very good friend that has Antelope Park, and you can Google that and look that up. And he raises lions and puts them into the wild, and so this guy's been there a while. I just loved his. He's got such a wonderful full mane, you know. Next. So let's get to the work. One of the additions that we have made this year was Sherry and I are blessed with 3 children. And this is 2 boys and a girl. And the boy, this is our oldest one, Lee. And he came to us at the beginning of this year and said, "Dad, I'm all in," meaning I want to work with Partners for Africa full time. So he started in August. And he's in South Africa, that picture, with his son, Boston. And we are glad to have him as a Deputy Director of Partners for Africa, and he'll be working stateside. Next, I wanted you to see, I don't know if you can read that all, but this is what's happened so far this year. Now, let me just say this. When you get to the end of this year and you evaluate the impact that the Cawson Street family has made on this world, both domestically and globally, I hope that you will include this, because our partnership has helped to create this and make this happen. And so we've planted 3 new churches, and in the 16 years, we begin in the 16 years that in February we begin 17, we have planted 92 churches. And so far this year, we don't have October's numbers in because there's a lot of rural places sending us records in, but I believe we are probably a little over 700 now that have obeyed the gospel this year. One of the things that has really grown is our home Bible studies. You know, we had a lot going before COVID, and then COVID hit. And so when COVID hit, then that caused problems, you know, because of regulations. But now we have all these home Bible studies going on. Now, remember, we're working in 6 countries and in Southern Africa. When I say home Bible studies, I'm not talking about individual families, by the way. I'm talking about a family that has a home Bible study going on in their home, and they invite their neighbors. And any given home Bible study is between 15 to about 30 people. And I mean, it's tremendous. So when you've got these studies going on, it's a constant weekly evangelism that is going on. Then people start obeying the gospel when you find that rich soil. And so we're glad for that. So far this year, great things. And I expect by the time the year is over, we might be close to 1,000 that have obeyed the gospel. And that was our goal, by the way. Next. So here's our good works. And 139 wells completed in 5 countries. Can you imagine? I don't know if there's any comparable population in this area, but where I'm based, in Florence, Alabama, we have what we call the Quad Cities. Population, roughly, greater population, about 100,000. And so I look at it, you know, every single day, over 400,000 people are getting clean water from our wells. and that's 4 times the area that I live in. The other thing that grabs me when I think about this number is that every well that we have drilled is strategically placed. What do I mean by that? It's either where there is a church of Christ, or whether we're about to plant one, or it's at a school where the church meets in that school. And so there's purpose behind it, because the good works is not an end in itself. It's how do you find that rich soil, that good soil? And through good works, it helps us. So when we talk about physical water, giving to somebody, we're finding opportunities to share the living water. In fact, that's kind of interesting. I know the slide isn't quite as good, but you'll notice those are solar panels behind. This is at a primary school, Amazon Primary School. They had no water. In fact, they had to, every class had their designated day that they got water for the school, meaning they had to walk a mile trek to go with buckets of water, empty buckets, go fill the buckets and bring it back to the school. And so now we've got solar panels with this well that pumps the water out of the ground into the tank, and all they do is just turn the faucet now. No, it's not indoor plumbing, but I'm telling you, as far as they're concerned, this is awesome. And so people also from the community can get it because there's water in the tank all the time. And so thankful for that. Next. This is our container. And you all have been a part of all of this through the years and still are. In fact, I was so thankful. I walked in today and I was told you have 72 dresses. The ladies here that do that, I mean, it's just amazing. You did the backpacks. You got quilts, you got dresses. It's just been such a blessing, and I thank you all so much. This is a recent container that arrived in Eswatini. It used to be Swaziland. They changed the name. The chief. It's the only country in the world probably that has an absolute monarchy. And the chief changed the name to Eswatini, a more indigenous name. And so this container just arrived there. Next. And I want you to see the elders on the right distributing to members, congregations in the rural areas. This is the Matsapa Church of Christ elders, and they went out into the rural areas. And there's backpacks being delivered. I don't know if it was any of yours, but it could be, because we got a lot, but we got a lot from you all. But those are backpacks being delivered to children up in the mountains in Eswatini. And they have nothing, and they were so happy. Next. So, one of the things that we don't do is we don't raise money for preachers. And we don't raise money to build buildings. But what we do is help them facilitate themselves to make that happen. What do you mean, Dorian? We help preachers with micro businesses to support their families. The guy standing there is Justin Zaziba, and he's with his brother Joshua. Justin preaches for 3 congregations in rural Zimbabwe. And we drill water wells. And he likes to grow tomatoes. And so he's got about 400 tomato plants. And they can grow it, they can get 2 crops a year because it's 9 months summer and 3 months winter, or their winter's like our early spring. And they can sell tomatoes when the rains have stopped and most people don't have tomatoes anymore to sell. So he's making a living through that. And let me say one other thing too. We're trying to think outside the box to help these ministers. One minister loved photography. We sent him on a photography course. We got him a camera, and now he's supporting his family, taking weddings and graduations and all of that. So he's supporting his family with this camera. We have a couple who moved back home and are trying to find something that could bring about sort of, independence for them, financial independence. And so they started making pizzas with their, using their oven. In fact, their parents' oven. They didn't have one. And so the business started taking off. So we are about to send a 20-foot container loaded with clothes and all kinds of things, Bibles and all that is going to help the church there. But then they're going to keep the container and convert it and become their Pizza Hut. and they've got a place in town where they're going to put it there. So it's very important, because churches' emphasis on missions can change. Leaderships can change. And so for people overseas, it's not always a dependable support. But if you can build support there, indigenous support, it makes all the difference in the world. And we're thankful for that. Next. So this is Cape Town, South Africa. I heard a guy tell me, I'm biased, but I heard a guy tell me the two most beautiful cities in the world is Rio de Janeiro and Cape Town, South Africa, because they both have the ocean and the mountains behind it. And they're beautiful cities. But Cape Town is a city of over 4 million, and they have some rough parts of it. It's beautiful. Tourists go there all, but there's also parts of it that are really rough. And the East Ridge Church of Christ is right in one of those high-density areas where they have gangs. And this church says, we're not going nowhere because this is our community. And so we've started helping them with soup, kitchens, through the community, with clothing. So it's really helping. I mean, mothers there losing sons that are, from being shot and stuff. I mean, just the crime there. But man, that church is really making a difference. And I just love those Christians. Next. So now we go from Cape Town, South Africa, to Zambia. And I want you to know this church here outside the city of Siavonga, Zambia, they were so proud of their new building because they made it themselves. You see the ovens they built, and then they made their bricks from those ovens. And then they built their building. Now, we got there 1 week earlier, because they were having their second grand opening. They had their grand opening, but they sat on the floor in the building. But this was their second grand opening because they'd gone into the bush with axes, and they had cut trees, and they had made their own pews. And they were so happy that this first Sunday they were going to be able to sit on their own pews. Next. I don't know how long we would sit on those pews. We might ask the preacher to preach a little shorter than normal. The minister there was so proud of his mud pulpit. And you know what, brethren? You got to love supporting people like that. You got to love helping people like that because they're doing everything that they can. And the church is just growing in Zambia. And let me just say this. The area of Southern Africa that we're working in, the country of Zambia, the country of Namibia, and South Africa, all three of them by themselves are bigger than Texas. And in fact, South Africa is almost twice the size of Texas. And so these are large areas with a variety of compositions when it comes to cultures. And yet, isn't it true? The message of Jesus Christ is as relevant here as it is in any parts of Africa or Asia. I mean, all across the globe, the message is still relevant. Next. This is Sherry and I's oldest grandson. He just graduated from high school. He has been a very successful young man. I won't deal with secular accolades, but I will say he has given his life to God, and he is just amazing. And I said to Tristan, Tristan, come with me in May, and you and Granddad, before you begin your next chapter in life, we're going to spend 3 months in Africa in 3 countries. And he said, let's do it. And it was really special, for me. But he's with some of the youth of that new congregation that you just saw. Next. So we're in the bush here in Zambia, and here comes this young guy, and he's holding his homemade soccer ball. Now, this homemade soccer ball is they get a plastic bag and they blow it up, and then one bag after the other, 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 till they get it to a size. Of course, that first bag serves as a bladder, and then they tie it with string. And then they go play on their soccer field that has no grass. And I just had to see, I thought they were so creative. We were there delivering food because it was drought and people were so hungry. Next. And so our deputy director at State Africa side, Haley Malungani, and my grandson are putting food into their storage facility. Next. Some of the new Christians were given mealie meal, and one of those bags is 10 kg, which is 22.2 pounds. I'm going to feed a family for about a month. Next. We went to the hospital there, and we found out that the hospital was only feeding patients and the staff just one meal a day. That's all they could do. And so we have supplied them with more food. And you know what's happened? When you do a good work, you're looking for the end game. The end game is not the physical food. The end game is the bread of life. And so they've made the minister there the chaplain of the hospital, just because we took food. Next. This is one of the congregations that we have begun. And you'll see they're all children lining up to be fed. You know how we began this congregation was begun by a wonderful preacher, Zimbabwean preacher, Mtosa Banda, who decided his home village and 2 other villages, there's no church there. And he decided to begin a Saturday backyard Bible club. They would study the Bible, they'd play games, he'd give them a meal, and all the parents started coming and watching and seeing what was happening, because there's not much happening in the village when something like this, this is a big deal. And before we know it, we started a congregation, and we are so thankful. We're having over 100 there already. Next. I want you to see those ladies, because that's their commercial kitchen. And they are all new Christians. They are some of the parents that were watching their children in the backyard Bible club, and they'd listened to the good news and we immersed into Christ, and now taken off running. Well, let us cook for the children of the villages. Next. Just too cute. I mean, I couldn't leave that out. That's just so cute to me, and they just loving what they eat. And I probably said this before, but one thing about African children that my grandchildren haven't always followed, because they are so blessed. They never say they don't like that. Never. They'll eat everything on their plate. When you get one meal, or you get one meal every 2 days, believe me, everything tastes good. Next. That T-shirt says, "I'm super," and yes, you are super. And that child had a pair of shorts, and that was all he had. And then our container came, and we got him shoes and the shirts and sweaters, and got some food, and we got the Thank you, Lord, that we can be in this position. And by the way, as a sidebar, that's one reason why America is so blessed, because America is a generous nation. And I know that. When I go around to congregations and I see, just like you all, and what you give and ready to give man, listen, that doesn't go unnoticed by our God. Next. This elderly gentleman and his wife owned, I think they have over 100 acres in that area where we planted that church. And he came, he was so taken back by the way we were helping the children that him and his wife made an agreement that they would give the Church of Christ 2 acres, and we could use it how we wanted to. And I just thought that was just awesome. Next. SHINE stands for spiritually helping, nurturing, and equipping. Spiritually, okay, so this is the spiritual aspect. Now we do all these good works, okay? Now here's the spiritual aspect. Next. So here is preachers from Namibia. We've got them doing and leading in all kinds of ways. And Namibia is a big country, but we are so grateful that we can work with them. And when I was here last, we weren't working in Namibia, and now we've started, and we're glad. Next, this is in Zambia. They had a lectureship. So when you think of a lectureship here, you just think of people from the church coming. And so we're having this lectureship. But the brethren got excited. They started inviting their neighbors. You've got to come to these lessons, And so what happened, which wasn't planned, was this happened at the end of every day. Next. We had people lined up to be baptized. We want to know what do you have to do to be saved, to become a Christian. And then we would take them aside, and we started all new classes with them. And to have 10 people lined up, next. It just provides for such a wonderful setting, and just continues to pump the church up, And that's not extra special than here, wherever people are immersed into Christ, Next. This was 2 from the lectureship that ended. We've still had a continuing people continuing studying, and so this happened about 2 weeks ago. 2 others that had been studying and now obey the gospel. And let me just say something. One reason I got that picture up is you don't just, in Southern Africa, you just don't go to a river and baptize somebody. You have to have a pole, and you've got to make sure that there's no crocodiles, because you want people to be raised to a newness of life, if you know what I mean. And so it takes maybe a little more faith there. I don't know, Next. This is some of the preachers that we're working with, and currently we're working with over 300 ministers in 6 countries, and elders, and teachers, but 300 ministers. And if you baptize between 800 and 1,000 people a year, then you better have your act together, because you can't cross your fingers and say, well, you're a baby in Christ. I hope you get to walking sometime. You got to grab them, and you got to have the people trained to do that. And we have 32 seminars, leadership seminars, marriage seminars, youth seminars that go on all year long. It's constant. And these new Christians are grabbed right away. Not only the expectation of them to attend all the services, but Bible study, separate Bible studies, and also enter into our good works. You want to feed children? We want you to be a part of that. But try to get them added to the body and then connected to about 2 or 3 levels of the work of the church. Next. So, great story. This is, we've got this school going. You all know, and I'll tell more about it in a minute. So we've planted the church there on the campus, because one of the things we want to do is we want high school students, and then we're going to build a university, by the way. We want high school students and university students to learn the truth, then a vehicle by which they can apply themselves. So there needs to be a church on campus. And this church has taken off, let me tell you. It's probably going to be the biggest church of Christ in Zimbabwe in the not too distant future. But the men there, we've planted this, we built this high school. There are 6 villages. And they said, some of the villages are a pretty good piece away, okay? And they said, we want to be able to visit all these villages. We want them to know that we want them to come to our church. And we want to share the love of Christ through personal visits. And they said, some of the walks are long. And so they said to me, we need to meet with you. So I met with them. They said, we need transport. And you know what I thought of? When they said transport, I thought of trucks. And I said, they said, Brother Flynn, listen to us. All we want is bicycles. And I thought, boy, if you want bicycles, you've got it. They said, please make sure you got the thick tires, because our roads are so bad. So we got them that. And they go, as they, we got a song, they go 2 by 2. Well, they 2 by 2 bicycles, they go into the villages. And it's amazing. Next. Amazon clinic. And you know about this, that we opened this up in 2017. Next. And our nurses, do you know the nurses that opened with us there? They're still with us. Nobody's changed. Nobody's left. We were 2 years ago. We were given the status of the best clinic, rural clinic in Zimbabwe, and still are. We have we try to take care of as much as possible, but. So we have maternity on one side, and then we take care of everything else, as far as broken bones, infections, snake bites, that sort of thing. And we've had over 200, I think it's over 220 babies. I don't know, it's 21 or 23, but that have been born there. And what happens there is not only do we treat them, but we also have opportunity there for them to sign up for Bible course, study the Bible. Many mothers and newborns have obeyed the gospel and are part of our church, our campus church, because this clinic is right next to our high school campus. And so we're thankful for the complex that we are building there. Next. So here's Amazon Christian Academy. And I want to finish with this, but tell you a little bit about what's happening here. We wanted to have a Christian high school. And we found a place in Zimbabwe where there was no government high school whatsoever and no plans to build one. So there's 6 villages with 5 primary schools, and none of them are going to high school because that's it. And we were able to put this high school here. I'm thankful to the government for giving us the land. We're right at about 100 acres. And so it was just bush. It was just trees and grass. It was nothing, and we had developed it from scratch. Next. So here is our two. Well, they're about to be juniors now, but these are two of our first students. 25 girls, 25 boys we started with. And our mission statement, preparing students for life globally and eternally. Now, I want you to know, if you were able to see that boy without his uniform on, first of all, you would see his ribs. This was his first day at our school. All he had was a T-shirt, and he didn't have shoes and shorts. And that's why we have a uniform at our school, so that all children can be on the same level as far as learning. Nobody comes with a special, Air Jordan, and the other one has holes in his shoes, but they're all the same. And it's important there. And when he gets home, he's got to take that off right away, boy. His parents make sure. And you get it. But when he comes to school, they look like that. Now, he was malnourished, but now into he's finishing his 2nd year, because their school year is like our year. Not like our school year, which begins in August. Their school year begins in January. Okay, so they're about to have Christmas holidays and begin their 3rd year. Next, and that's him there. And now he's getting his. In fact, he's exceeding there. I mean, he is quite the scholar, and he's received quite a few awards. And now, because he's done so well. Oh, by the way, we do offer scholarships, but only for Bible right now. And he is in all his subjects, but he is earning a scholarship that he's paid his way because of his Bible, at our school now. And so, of course, his mother's just elated. Next, and there's the young lady there too, just flourishing as well. And we are so thankful. And the greatest of all is that they've been immersed into Christ. Did not know who Jesus was. Ancestral worship and other things like that are very big in the rural areas. Next. That's the houses they live in. So I tell you what, when I look at that, the emotions that run through me, because I'm looking down the road and I'm thinking to myself, the Lord has given us this partnership to make something like this possible. What student is going to come out of a mud hut and it's going to become the next doctor in Zimbabwe, or lawyer, or teacher, or farmer, Christian, by the way, because there were people, Christians, that cared? That's what's going to happen with our school, and it's happening now. Next. So when I was here last, we only had 2 classroom wings. You can see, if you count, there's 3 now, and we just finished. Well, it's been finished a little while now. The 3rd wing, and each wing has 2 classrooms. Next. And this is our science lab. Now just think about that. A student comes out of a mud hut and he goes to school and he's sitting in a science lab. I mean, that's amazing. But you know what? All they lack, God has given them as good a brains as anybody in the world, and all they need is a chance. And they're getting it, and I'm thankful, plus the nutrition. But anyway, we're so proud of that. Next, government officials have been coming around because we're the first rural school that has a lab like that. Can't hardly believe it. By the way, just let me say something about the school. Everything's paid for. Don't owe a penny. Now, that's what I do when I'm here in the States. I help things. I help make that happen through the will of God, okay? But while we're doing that, we're building income streams. So we have 18,000 tomato plants that pay for the clinic, which is a free clinic, by the way. We have over 200 head of cattle now. We're heading to 400. 200 head of cattle. By this year, we'll sell it at Christmas. Just before Christmas, we'll sell. We're going to sell 35 head at $1,000 a head. Pays for the teacher's salaries for 6 months. Next year, we hope to pay for 9 months, and then the following year, the cattle will pay for the teacher's salaries. Income streams there, you know. So one day, if the Lord tarries, and I take my last breath, and I hope I'll have a smile on my face, knowing that they're taken care of over there. Whatever they get from America is just icing on the cake, because they are self-propagating, and that's our goal. Next. Every building that we build a cistern where we collect the water off the roof. Because I don't know what I should have looked it up. I don't know what your average rainfall is here in Hopewell, but I do know that in Matabeleland, Zimbabwe, where we are, it's about 19 inches a year. Now, that's it. You know, sometimes when they quote rainfall in the States, maybe they don't include other precipitation. I don't know, but that's it. So, although we drill wells, when the rainy season comes, like November till about March, end of March, sometimes into April, then that's it. They don't get no more precipitation from that. You know, we will get our rainy season, and then we'll get, you know, there comes the ice and the snow and all of that, you know, not there. So we're collecting, and our goal is to be able to store over 100,000 gallons of water from our roofs. And so because we want to go to from a high school and then to a university, so we've got to have the water to do that. And in 5 years, we want to have day scholars from other parts of Southern Africa. Next. So this was we had a special Sunday at the new church. And on the school. Now, that's not their building. We're building them a building right now, but that's not it, but it was overflowing. And we were so thankful. We had over 700 people there that day that came from villages all around. And do you know, it's 5 years ago, there was nothing there but bush, no church. The community knew nothing about the churches of Christ. And I'm just so thankful. Next. That's the building that that's our sports building, actually. We've got showers, and our athletic teams can come in there. But when we built that third classroom, we also built that, and we're thankful. Next. And that's the inside of it. We have it all finished now, and it looks great. Next. I'll be finished in a minute. Next. Okay, so, so just back up that slide one. Yes. Now, when you build a big building like that, you know, you got to have a septic. Okay? So that's the septic. Now, if you will look, that's just rock that they dug through. So somebody says you've got to have a backhoe. There's no backhoe there, not in rural Zimbabwe, but there are backs. And they did it with a pick and a shovel, those guys. Now they're starting to build the system. Next slide. But then they had to take the septic a distance too, okay? So they had to dig all of that. I want you to know that there are commercials in the States that said if you'll exercise just 30 minutes a day, you can stay pretty fit. These guys will tell you, if you want to have an 8-pack, just do this exercise 7 hours a day. Because they are chiseled. I mean, their backs are there, you know, it's just quite amazing. Next. And that's the finished product, by the way. I just want you to see it's all filled in, it's all done, and you got that. Next. So now we've begun our fourth classroom wing, and started the foundation. Next. And we've begun a multi-purpose building. It's kind of like a big pavilion that we'll use for our school assemblies, for our new church, or you know, basketball, volleyball. But what it'll do also be an income stream, because people will want to rent it. It'll have the largest roof in a 100-mile radius. And non-governmental organizations and government organizations will want to rent it. Next. That's what it'll look like. That's actually a picture of one in San Antonio, Texas. We're duplicating that. Next. And that's on the right is our deputy director, who's here with Sherry right now, him and his wife. On the left is Nathan Kachena. Now, I know you don't know these guys, but I want you to know that Haley came to the States. He went to Heritage Christian university in Florence, used to be International Bible College. He then got an IT degree at University of North Alabama. Nathan on the left's father was a gospel preacher, faithful gospel preacher, killed in a car wreck in his late 40s. And Nathan came to me when he heard we were beginning the school, and he said, listen, I'm not a preacher like my dad. I just don't have that personality to get up. But he said, I want to affect people's lives like my father. And he says, I want to be able to teach at the school. He showed me his grades, straight A's. And so we sent him to university, the University of Rwanda in Kigali, Rwanda. And flying colors, got his master's, came back. He's now going to be working on his doctorate. But he's met a lovely Christian lady who is a doctor, and she's specializing in surgery. You know how the Lord takes care of things? We have a clinic. We don't have any resident doctor. Well, not until now. Thank you, Lord. Next. I just wanted you to see some of the students. And it's at our assembly. Next. That's our teachers. And every one of our teachers are Zimbabweans. Some of the second-generation Churches of Christ. But not only that, they're between the ages of 27 to about 33, 34. They are not coming for 5 years. This is their country. So if the Lord tarries, we've got a long runway. Next. That's our chorus. That's our students that came out of mud huts on iPads. They come wired this generation. It doesn't matter where they are in the world. Next. And I want to thank you. I'm going to close with this slide. I want to thank the church here. I thank the women for all that they've done. But when I was here last, I was given a check by the elders. And every new class that comes in, we make sure that each child gets a Bible. And we use that money to do that. And of course, we've got another group coming in January. But I had a mother come up to me, and she said, Mr. Flynn, I am so thankful for the Bible you gave my daughter, because it is the family Bible. We don't have a Bible in our home. This is the family Bible, and I want you to know that we have decided as a family that we're going to read the Bible together once a week. What a novel idea. And I thank you. Our time's up. Let's have a word of prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we are so thankful that we are your children. We are so thankful for the full life that you give us. We are thankful, O God, that as long as we live on earth, there is always new horizons. And we pray, O God, that you'll continue to bless us here in Hopewell and in Africa as we continue to glorify your name. In Jesus' name, amen.